All right. Welcome to the Empower Performance for Curlers podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Thompson, and this segment is a monthly Q&A. So basically what I've been doing since the beginning of 2023 is I've been paying attention to common questions that I get on Instagram, through email, and just kind of looking for the common themes that people want to kind of talk about at this time. And often I find I get questions and I'm like, it's a little in depth for an email or a little bit in depth for an Instagram. Like it needs a little bit more, but I find I do repeat myself a lot. So this is a space where now I can go, okay, I answered a similar question in April's question and answer, May's question and answer. I'll refer you to that because I did a pretty good job of answering it. And the beauty of this is that I'm recording it and it's going to be available on podcast. So thank you for who are listening. I'm sorry you can't see my body move, but you can refer to the video, the YouTube, and actually see me move, which is, I think, a little bit more exciting. We don't have a lot of coaching spaces where in curling, where we're looking at people are moving, we're actually getting, real life. This is how you're going to kind of try to do these kind of things. So I'm a kinesiologist, I'm a strength coach, I'm a competition coach, and I've done almost 10 plus years, 15 plus years now of coaching curling, plus my experience with studying for curling. So when I was trying to become a kinesiologist, actually I was trying to become a teacher. Every single time I learned something new about the body, I applied it to curling. So I have this unique perspective by accident. I did that because it was the way that it was most easiest for me to learn. But as a bonus, it means that now I've got this kind of giant repository of information that I've learned how to apply to curling because there's not a lot of research out there in the curling world. So if you've got a question you want me to answer, we're going to end with a case study, and case studies are where I take a specific case or struggle that someone is having. In this case, it's going to be from an email submission, and just kind of go through how I might help that person in a certain scenario, so that if that's you and you really just need a little bit of advice, then you can follow along on that. Now, if you have video of your brushing, your delivery, your performance, and you want me to look at it and say, why does this hurt? Why does it hurt my back? Why can't I improve my sweeping? How do I hit the broom in my delivery? I would love this to become a space where you send in video. Me, myself, and I get to analyze it from a safe space, of course, and then provide my coaching tips, what I would do if you were my client in person, and how I would go about helping you solve your problem. So if you're brave, you want to send some video, you're totally welcome to. You could also send an anonymous case study like this person did, where I've actually just kind of changed their name and a couple of their details so that nobody knows who they are. This is going to be highly unedited, so a little bit tougher for the podcast people, because if I'm stopping for water, you can see it on the YouTube, and I'm not going to edit that out, so to speak, with the podcast. I am also waiting for a phone call, so there's a small chance I'm going to have to hit pause on everything, and I hope that doesn't interrupt. You might not even notice, and I hope that that's how that goes. So all of the resources I'm going to talk about are going to be linked in the show notes for the podcast and within the YouTube description. So if you're like, oh, I really want that access to that workshop, I really, really want that access to how do I find a dry land sweeping pad, all those kind of things. And lastly, I didn't plan this out, how to say this, but with respect to the missing and murdered Indigenous Women Day, which is May 6th. I'm wearing my wonderful hoodie that was inspired and created by Team Galusha, and I know that they are still for sale. I'll link that below, and I believe that they're now being sold through Dynasty. So I'm going to link that below if you want to support a really wonderful cause. Of course, even just kind of rep some awesome artwork, curling, and some curling swag, then I highly recommend you plop that into your cart and hit purchase. Literally not affiliated. Nobody told me to add that in there. I just thought I'd wear this shirt today, make sure people become aware, and you know where to access that if that's up for you. So grabbing a sip of water here. The first question was actually a two-parter. So I split it into two because there were two totally different things. So the first one, the person was looking for tips for training for peel weight, power, and stability. I love that this person is like, I want to work on up weight, and I need to work on my power, and I need to work on my stability, because a lot of people, you can push harder out of the hack, But if you go to kick out of the hack and then your slide foot's sliding everywhere, your body is going side to side, you've got energy leaking that's not going in the direction of travel. Many people are going to equate that nice, smooth, powerful delivery with having loads of balance. Everything that, all of the energy that they put behind them gets transferred forward with all the pros. So what we're trying to do is become a really efficient mover. So I've got a couple of pieces I want to talk about. So owning the position, this is something that you can really access off the ice and then apply on the ice. Of course, we need to spend time practicing in the delivery, throwing rocks, 100%. Right now, it's the beginning of the off season here in Ontario. So this is the time to own the positions that we need in curling. That includes getting into the hack. That includes transitioning from the pullback to the push forward into the slide, however your delivery looks. That includes being in the brushing position with the pull and the push. Okay, so owning the position is getting into the position. Can you get into the positions that are required of you for curling? And then can you repeat that? Can you throw multiple rocks? Can you sweep multiple, my arms are not going in the same direction, multiple, obviously, strokes, but then bouts of sweeping. Then we work on power, which is getting into and out of that position quickly and forcefully. So I love the way this person worded this question. They want to work on heel weight, power, and stability in the off season, work on moving really well, access being able to do a really good squat, a really good lunge. Okay, can you do single leg deadlifts? Can you do step ups? Can you do trap bar deadlifts? Okay, things that help you get into and out of the hack. Can you hold those positions? I do a lot of work in the beginning of the off season with what I call isometrics, what are called isometrics. Can you hold a wall squat for a minute? It seems really basic. It's not easy. Can you hold the bottom of a split squat for a minute? This is not easy stuff. Can you own the positions that you need in curling? Now, I did dive through this in last year's level 1 virtual fitness workshop with the World Curling Academy. I'm going to end up outlining all 3 of the different virtual fitness workshops. So if you're interested, if you're like, I love a list of exercises, I love drills, I'd love to learn a little bit of how my body needs to move for curling and what kind of things I need to do off the ice to prepare myself for the fall and when I step back on the ice again, then those World Curling virtual workshops are going to be great for you. We've priced them really affordably. You get the recording as well. So if you can't join live or want to just watch it again, you get the recording, you get to re-watch it and go through the exercises and create a nice list of exercises that are going to be applicable for whatever you're struggling with. So the second one is balance and power in the delivery. And last year, what we're calling level 1, we worked on owning the position. So I walked you through owning the position. This presentation from 2023 is still available. It's called level 1. Okay, you can still access that presentation. It's got loads of different exercises about being into the hack, getting out of the hack, being in the lunge, okay, finding that balance. Level 2, we're going to look a little bit more specifically at getting a little lower, troubleshooting, trying to get into a good position. So some people are really, really high and stiff. Some people need a little bit more stability. Some people can't extend that back leg. They can't get ankle flexion. We're going to look at all of those things, including increasing your power. Okay, so start with owning the position. We need you to hold it, get in and out repeatedly, and then, of course, be forceful and powerful and move quickly. Then, so of course, that's movement efficiency, that's moving well, accessing movements, good timing. Okay, apply that to your strength training now. So you can, a lot of people are like, I need to be, quick and snappy and jumpy. But if I want to apply more force into the hack to kick out of the hack, I need to be able to apply more force, which comes from strength. So starting off with those isometrics, learning how to lift heavy, learning how to get stronger. And then as the summer progresses, your off season progresses, you can work on being a little snappier, a little quicker, adding in more jumps, adding more power moves. Okay. So trap bar deadlifts, split squats, step ups, all great for learning how to increase power out of the hack. I'll make sure I link those in the show notes. We can add in hill sprints. I honestly feel like hill sprints were like a huge game changer for me. Like find a really steep hill that's about 15, even preferably 30 seconds, because then it also helps with your swooping, but really big strides up those hills or quick and snappy strides up those hills. set of stairs works too. And that's really helping, like, think of how that feels on the legs. Think about how you have to actually use those big back muscles to propel yourself up, coordinate with the core, all those fun things. Okay, so balance and power in the delivery, you've got level 1 from 2023 still available, and level 2, which is going to be happening on June 9th. So both of those presentations alone are $15 US. Nice and simple, nice and hopefully affordable. And yeah, you don't need to watch level 1 to join level 2. I need to point that out, but why not? We're focusing on owning the position last year, and this year we're focusing a little bit more on troubleshooting pieces. So you can totally just do level 2 and not do level 1 if that's up for you. All right, the next question, tips for training for sweeping endurance. Sweeping endurance. So I'm assuming this person is talking about being able to sweep hard for an entire bout of sweeping, so an entire rock. So let's say they can max out up to 30 seconds. I know nobody really needs to sweep, hopefully doesn't need to sweep for 30 seconds, but you know, you've got that hog to stop time of 24, 26. If we can train for 30, we know that we can definitely do that 24, 26 second. So this, again, level 1, better brushing. That happened in 2023. We talked about owning the position for brushing, but this year we're working on strength and muscular endurance and really troubleshooting how to improve our brushing. I know that I gave people the tools to be in a good open, to be in a good closed, okay, how to own that position, get into it, repeat it, and then be powerful in it. And we're just going to dive a little bit deeper in the May 26th presentation workshop and work on things like grip strength, how to get your obliques involved, how to get your legs involved. So sweeping endurance, we need to have powerful legs. We're transferring that energy through our legs, okay? As I'm going down the ice, I'm transferring that energy through my legs, through my core, through my arms. Okay, I really want to be able to maximize my my lower body's involvement in creating that push stroke as we're going down the ice. So we've got work capacity, which is muscular and aerobic endurance. So being able to do loads, if you're just thinking, I need to be able to sweep for 30 seconds, we need to be including things like rows, okay, chin-ups, push-ups, things that we can do for 10 to 15 plus reps. Be able to do loads of work so that when we get into the brushing position and need to sweep for a long time, then we're in a good space. Now, yes, strength has a component, but this person is specifically asking about sweeping endurance. The other side of that, you've got your muscular endurance, okay, the muscle's ability to repeat a movement over and over and over again. We also have our cardiovascular endurance, our heart and our lungs, the efficiency in that respect. So in that's where cardio for curling comes in, which is going to be June 23rd. Last year, we looked at nasal breathing. We looked at creating a really good baseline with your aerobic capacity, increasing with intervals, increasing with some more specific brushing intervals. And I really encourage you to, of course, dive down last year's 2023 presentation, or this year, we're going to look at using what I call the gear system and how can we use that in the off ice and then translate it on the ice. So it's really about energy management this year and using the training to learn how to kind of mimic what we need on the ice. So slightly, there's a lot of overlap, but there's still slightly new, there's a whole bunch of new stuff for you if you're going to take the 2024 workshop. So cardio for curling, June 2023, we've got work capacity, we've got muscular endurance, we've got aerobic endurance, and I'm going to link 2 things in the show notes for you. One is how to make your own dry land sweeping pad. Okay, so this is a hockey slide board. They come with these little boots that are supposed to go on your feet. Okay, and then you can sweep right there. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I've actually drawn the diameter of the running surface, so I know exactly how big my brush strokes need to be. And one of the things I'm going to be adding in this year with my VIP athletes is we're going to be sweeping off ice for distance, so nice and fast, and direction. So bigger, more forceful push. We're going to be practicing that in the off ice, and I highly recommend you do that as well. I have noticed if you are a relic curler that hair brooms work the best, and they also work on your hardwood linoleum floor if you're okay with sweeping on that. And lastly, I'll link this too, is I found, you have yet to get creative with them, but these are Mylar sheets. This was a pack of like 20 and it was $15. So if you can get a piece of, oh goodness gracious, what's it called? A piece of PDF, not PDF. My people who know their construction stuff, we got EDF, PDF. It's like wood. It's like not too hard, but not too expensive. Anyways, you could also kind of glue it to a probably even like a Bristol board or something that's just gonna stay there. So you can get creative, something slippery, you go after it. All right, next question. Can you skip around on the ultimate off-season training program? I will link that for you because hopefully this inspires people to go, yeah, I want that program. The ultimate off-season training program is like, it's becoming my signature program. It's my favorite. Every year I give it a little bit of an upgrade. And right now we've got 4 levels. So 2 of them are appropriate for body weight or at-home training. You can have so basically body weight level 1, only body weight. I have nothing else, maybe a band. Okay, level 2, we've got bands, we've got a couple of weights at home, like kind of similar to what I've got here. Okay, some exercise equipment. That's like the next level. But then if you're going to the gym, you've got level 3 and 4. And how I've organized that is, if you've never trained with me before, you're probably going to start with level 3. Level 4 is pretty advanced. So if you're comfortable with working out, yeah, you could jump to level 4, but you're going to get a really good workout with level 3. I had level 3 for a couple of years. I needed a new one because people did level 3 and then wanted level 4. So that's where that comes from. So the question is, can I skip around in the program? So there's 5 workouts. Okay, there's a push workout, a pull workout, a brushing workout, a cardio workout, and I think a move well workout, depending on which of those 4 levels you get. So they might be a little bit different. And essentially, they've been put together in a way that makes sense for me. And if I were to work out 5 times a week and the equipment and space that I have. So the way that I look at it is, if you just purchase the program, you can go in, you're going to copy and paste into your own Excel doc, and then you can move things around. Maybe you want to make it 4 workouts. Maybe you want to spread it out, make it 6. Okay, it's up to you. Maybe you're like, there's no way I could do chin-ups and deadlifts at the same time. So I need to move those things around in the program. So when you get that program, 100% move things around. My brain had reasoning behind putting sets and reps in block 1, 2, and 3. It had reasoning around why I might structure certain exercises together. However, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. This particular person was saying that they did day 1 and then they hadn't worked out in a really long time. So they were very sore. So they were like, you know what? I see a workout that's going to use lots of upper body. Can I do that one instead? Absolutely. I also like to think of the ultimate off-season training program as a toolbox. So I've also had people purchase this before who are like myself and perfectly capable of making their own off-season training program. But let's say that they're like, you know what, I do CrossFit, I do a yoga program, I'm a runner. I just need a list of exercises that are curling specific that I can follow, and I'll kind of pick and choose what's right for me and make the program based off of that. So I also see block 1, 2, 3 as a big toolbox. If you're like, I need curling specific exercises, I need to know how many sets and reps I need to do. Oh, I'm going to have to pause on this. Okay, perfect. So apologies. I know that this is going to be a little bit more disjointed within the YouTube because I'm not 100% certain on how to edit that. Podcast, you probably didn't even notice, but I had to answer the phone for a moment. So here we are. We're back. And where were we? Ultimate off-season program. So yes, you can move things around in that program, use it as a toolbox. The beauty of it is what I like to do and what I would expect people to do, because this is what I would have done if I was not in the space where I'm at now and have the knowledge that I do, is I would purchase it and share it as a team. So I'm expecting teams to say, I want this program, I want level 3, and teams are going to purchase the one and then copy and paste it amongst themselves. I'm expecting that to happen, not that they each individually purchase one. Now, of course, respect and don't send that to everyone forever and ever and ever, because stuff you got to eat, but totally fine with me. Is exactly what I'm expecting. And I want teams to be following. There's something magical about teams following a program together. So even if you take it and kind of modify it amongst yourselves,
Like there's something about being like, wow, that workout 3 really was the doozy, or I loved that brushing workout, or I'm struggling with this exercise. Can someone help me with that? Like it's a really powerful space to kind of get to bond throughout the off season and get to know each other and communicate and see where people's strengths lie before you actually touch the ice. I think that's really awesome, especially new teams. Hey, teams form April, maybe don't talk to each other, maybe have a little barbecue, yay. And then September happens and they're on the ice. Well, now they're like, oh, like what side of the rock do you like to sweep on? Oh, how's your delivery, your balance, all that kind of stuff. Like you get to workshop all that stuff in the off ice season. So I'll link that below. Now, as I said, if you're like, okay, I need to modify this for things like my ability, my goals, the number of times a week I want to work out, the equipment that I have available, then we could do a consult, which could be really simple if you just need help organizing things, or a full assessment. If you're like, my back hurts, my knee hurts, I really want to be able to work out and really want to follow this program, but I want to make sure I don't mess anything up. And I want to make sure perhaps that I can make things a little bit better, which is something that I can do as a kinesiologist. So you can couple a program with an assessment, and then I can help make that program specific for you. Okay. Next, what is the next question? Okay, leading into workouts to do in the off ice season with a knee injury. Now this person, not specific. So we're talking general knee injury. Okay, so it either hurts inside, outside, when it bends, straighten, etc. I don't know. Okay, so your general injury, if you've got a general injury, so we could be talking elbow, we could be talking low back, we could be talking wrist, okay, we could be talking groin. Okay, we got the knee. One of the things I want you to think about that I use as a principle is what we call the joint by joint, which joint by joint principle, which came from a man named Mike Boyle, strength conditioning coach in the States named Mike Boyle. So Mike Boyle hypothesized that and noticed, and I know many other trainers and coaches have noticed, this is not brand new information, but he really realized that the joints in the body alternate their primary purpose. So we've got mobility, which is range of motion, and stability, which is that strength at a joint. So the joints alternate major purpose. So let's say ankle joint, mobile, knee joint needs to be stable, hip joint, mobile, lumbar spine, stable, okay, thoracic spine, mobile, moving up the chain. So alternating the joints alternate their primary purpose. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is that if you have an issue with your knee, you can rehab the heck out of that knee. You can do all your leg extensions, hamstring curls, okay? But we need to look above and below, because is that knee being overused just because of overuse? And is it being overused because, or putting it and not being protected because the joints above and below aren't doing what it needs to do? So that joint might struggle to be able to do what it's supposed to do, and or the joint above and below might not be able to do what it's supposed to do. So if you don't have hip range of motion, you're struggling with hip range of motion in one respect, you might take it from the knee. Okay, so if you struggle to extend at the hip, you might overextend at the knee. If you struggle to flex at the hip, you might overflex at the knee. Just going to put stress on that. So one of the things in the off season is I recommend working on moving really well and making sure your joints are doing exactly what they need to do. This is one of the approaches that I take. So we're looking at that knee, of course, what can and can't it do, but then also what's happening above and below. Do we have the necessary range of motion in those joints? Do we have the necessary strength? And then lastly, one of the things we can actually look at is timing. And again, that kind of goes together, but timing. So for example, if I want to go into my squat and I drive my knees forward every single time, yeah, my knees are going to get pretty mad at me. Okay. If I never actually bend into my knees, and then I squat like this. Okay, some people squat like this. They don't get their knees past their ankles. And then I go curling where I have deep flexion. Okay, yeah, that's gonna hurt my knees. So we need to be getting into positions, owning the positions for sweeping, for delivery. Okay, this is all coming back together. Being able to access deep knee flexion, we can access that off the ice. So didn't look at any of my notes here. Yeah, so often knee pain isn't just because you have pain in the knee doesn't mean the problem's in the knee. It might be, but it also, you need to look above and below. I like to look at general strength. Like I can go ham and everything else. Anything that doesn't bother my knee, go crazy. And a lot of focusing on health, making that area feel way better, because knee injuries are distracting. right? Injuries are so distracting. So in the fall, I don't want to have to worry about that injury. I want to take my time, spend time moving well, getting stronger, improving my strength in various positions so that that knee feels really, really good. One of the ways to add it in, if you're like, I can't afford a trainer, I can't afford to get a physio appointment, one of the things you can start with, as long as you have no pain or is tolerable, is getting into isometric positions. So starting with wall squats, okay, you can start with not a lot of knee flexion and work your way into a lot of knee flexion, but we're strengthening the muscle tendon, which attaches to the joint. Okay, so often we need to work on isometric held exercises. So again, you can hold that split squat, okay, working on getting the appropriate mobility at the hip, stability at the knee, etc. Okay, yeah, isometric held exercises are a great way to restore knee flexion, hip flexion, and something called co-contractions, which is one of the 6 fundamentals. So a good place to start is actually, if you've got an injury, with my fundamentals program and the fundamentals webinar, which is free. So I'll link that below. But when we're talking about timing, we're also talking about a co-contraction. So can I contract the muscles in the front and the back of the knee, in this case, while the hip and the ankle move? Okay. Can I time that movement without making it about the knee? Okay, so can I keep that stable while other areas are working? And then of course be stable when I need the specific timing. So co-contractions are really important. Check out that free webinar. We can dive through that a little bit more. Again, an assessment might be able to help you. I can take you where you're at now, how you're moving, how's your fitness, help put together a little rehab program. We could couple it with the strength program. One of the things I love doing is kind of bridging that gap between rehab and performance, which is where a lot of people get stuck, right? Physio said, knee's great, there's nothing wrong. But you go back to training full force because you didn't know how to kind of progressively get back to that space and really increase that knee flexion for curling. So reach out if you need a little bit of help. Just gonna grab some water. We've got one more question and then a case study. Okay, should you pull back in the delivery? So I'm giggling because this was not submitted. This has just popped up. If you go through my reels, there is someone who has decided that I'm a horrible coach. I have no idea what I'm talking about. And they're just very black and white thinking. So this is my response just to someone who's wondering, when I'm curling, should I pull back or not? You're going to look around at the curling rink and you're going to see people get down into the hack and then they're going to go forward. Perfectly fine. If it works for them, they got no pain. They're generating power. They're accurate. They love it. I love it. Great. Getting rid of movement is a great way to help make you a little bit more accurate. What some people find is that they get in the hack and when they pull back, they get offline. So they say, you know what, I won't pull back. I'll just start back, or I'll just start in that crouch and go forward. And they've taken away that opportunity for the body to get offline. And that works for them. Now, I personally struggle with that because I've learned how to make sure I'm loading these big, bad posterior muscles on that pullback. So I personally am going to try to help someone workshop in adding a pullback. Doesn't have to be huge. Okay, adding some sort of pullback so we can make sure that these big, bad muscles back here are working. Because if you go in the hack, okay, and you don't pull back, you might just be overusing your quads. And again, no pain, no problem with creating power, accurate, loving your delivery. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. I think both are great. Okay. And I've worked with people where I've said to get rid of movement because they just were all over the place. But for some, if you want to do a pullback, okay, even if it's a little one, so often I have people go, so this is my hack foot, slider foot. Often their pullback ends up being going heel to toe, heel to toe. It's not a lot. Okay. I feel like a lot of people really mess up when they get way back here. But again, you're going to see some people on TV do that and they're accurate and powerful and they have no problems. So I wouldn't worry about that. What I would do though, you struggle to pull back, okay, is, let's say this is our hack. Here's our rock. And you could do multiple constraints. Okay. So I can put a broom beside me, put multiple brooms beside me. Okay, and a broom beside my rock. Okay, now when I pull back, okay, if my rock goes this way, or my foot hits the side, okay, and I can make this as tight as I feel comfortable. I can just work in the hack and work on just pulling back. So I get down, lift up, pull back. Okay, I'm online. Okay, do it again. Get down, lift up, pull back. Oh, I'm not online. What happened? Oh, my hips shifted side to side. So we can use those constraints. We can practice just the pullback. Loads of athletes, loads of pro athletes are going to spend an accumulated hours finding the right position, practicing getting down while staying online. Then they'll stand up. They're breaking down the delivery, looking to make it as efficient, okay, with the least amount of movement as possible, with the least amount of moving pieces as possible, okay, because that's efficiency and effective as possible. Lastly, if you come offline when you pull back and you notice your body shifts to one side or the other, okay, or your knee caves in or something, those are things we can work on off the ice. Okay, we can work on that in training. So let me just show you a couple exercises here. Okay, so trap bar deadlifts or suitcase deadlifts. We've got the weight out to the side. Okay, we can work on sending the hips back and up. Now, get a partner, take a video, and watch. Okay, when you're doing that squat or that deadlift, are you going to one side? That's going to influence your ability to hit the broom. Okay, are you going down and then up on the other? Okay, so work on being able to go straight back, straight up. And it is more dynamic of a fix than just using a video and tactile or having a friend help. But it could be a really good place to start. Okay, you can also see it from the front. Some people's legs go like this. Right? Like seriously, video yourself. You might go off to the side. That's going to influence when you go back into the hack. Okay, next, we can actually do things called B stance deadlifts. So a kickstand deadlift, let's say my right leg is going to be the leg I'm going to deadlift on. Okay, so I'm going to keep this knee stable. The hip goes back and the hip comes through. I'm going to link this exercise for you to go a little bit more in depth. Okay, so I'm going to split stance. I've got weight in one hand and I'm going to work on hinging or deadlifting on one leg. That's a kickstand. B stance keeps the weight in the same leg, but the other leg goes forward. Okay, so now it's kind of like, okay, so if you're looking at the video, kind of like when I'm heel to toe and I go down into the hack. Okay, then when I lift up and go heel to toe, okay, it's kind of like when I pull back. So when I'm on if you're a right-handed curler, when my right foot's in the hack and the left foot's forward, and I'm focusing on that back hip, like getting down into the hack, learning how to open up that hip and stay over that hip. When I pull back, my left leg is the working leg. Now that's like when I'm shifting into my left hip. Now it does not have to be this exaggerated. I like to do these things in the off-ice season so you can learn what it feels like to feel it. Some people don't know what it feels like to feel their glutes lengthen or activate or shift from side to side without their body going side to side. So a hip shift, okay, is still going to have the hips going back. Whereas a lot of people, when they do their hip shift and they pull back, they go sideways. Their side pocket opens up more than their back pocket. Okay, so kickstand deadlift, I'll show you from behind. I know it's an awkward one. So here's this guy. And then I could even end up, there's my pullback. Okay, and then here's my push through before I lean forward. So we're working on keeping those hips nice and stable as we're going back and forth. B stance and kickstand are great to add to your program if you struggle in the hack. All right. Whew. All right, case study. I'm excited for this. These little Q&As always, I'm like sweating by the end. This is hard work. Okay, so case study. Let me read this for you. After a very long hiatus, around 12 years, I got back into curling. Now when I throw rocks, by the end of a few days, it feels like I'm tearing my abductor. And I also get knee pain at the joint, like the muscle is failing and pulling on my knee. But I lose my stability in my slide. For the first time in my life, I'm fishtailing on my out turn. I've been working on lengthening my abductors so I can get low in the slide again, but I still start to get unstable. And it's like my sliding foot goes too far under or I'm unsure. I also had a physio help me with exercises to build my knee, leg, and hip strength, but I still have the same problem after training and throwing rocks. So I'm certain if this person meant adductors or abductors. So they said abductors, which are the muscles that help to bring the leg away from the body. Okay, and the adductors, so abductors, okay, help pull away. Adductors help pull in. I'm going to link a video where I talk about different movements at the hip. So I'm going to answer this kind of in two parts. I'm actually going to answer this all together. So let's say this person has pain in here, or the reason I think it's their adductors is because they made it seem like it was pulling on their knee from the inside. So those adductors, those literally your adductor muscles, can pull on the knee, and so can the abductors, but we'll go from there. So they're struggling with not letting this foot sliding too far underneath them, okay? And they're fishtailing. So from behind or from the front, you're going to see their foot swing out behind them when they're doing their out turn, or in a righty, I'm assuming, their counterclockwise turn, okay? So this foot slides too far under, and they don't feel like if they mean their abductors, okay, so that's this guy here. That would be your hip, like your back hip, your posterior hips, your ability to get this amount of hip flexion and to shift back into that hip. If they mean adductors, the inner thigh, they might be feeling tension in here, which is pulling on their knee as they're sliding. So let me just double check the question. I know what they were looking for was resources to kind of work on this. So the interesting thing about curling is that the delivery requires very deep knee flexion, knee and hip flexion. Okay, and at differing varies of hip and knee flexion, hip flexion, we require different things at the hip. So let's say that they're worried about this muscle here. I would be thinking that they want to work on their ability to internally rotate and shift into this hip while they're sliding, so that their pelvis, okay, if this guy's super tight, okay, their pelvis, their belt buckle isn't open to the side, okay, which can cause them to do something like this and kind of shift laterally. Okay, so belt buckle's open, we can't get this hip back, we're really tight in here. I have a favorite exercise and I can't do it because I didn't bring my bench. You know what? Come with me. We're gonna go to the bench. We're gonna go to the bench. You've seen my bench setup, my workout setup before. So let's check it out. Oh, it's set up perfectly for us already. Phenomenal. Okay, so favorite abductor stretch uses an incline bench. You could definitely prop some pillows up at home to do this as well. So I've got an incline bench. You can change the incline to your preference. Okay. And what I'm going to do is a modified pigeon. So I'm going to take this leg up here. You can put the foot down if you'd like. Okay. And I want you to think of turning the belt buckle towards the leg that's lifted. So we don't want to stay open. We want to think of sending this hip back. Okay. And relax. No tension. Relax and breathe. So you can reach across. Okay. If I was just like up like this, I want to be sending that hip back, and I could be even shifting forward. So don't do it this way. It's just showing you on the other leg so you can actually see what's happening in the hip. But it's a modified pigeon pose because we're not as putting much stress on the hip flexors. We're actually, and knee, we're really just focusing on that hip. So I would stretch that bad boy. I would also work on, I'm just going to talk while I'm walking here. I would also work on that ability to do that rock and reach or that split squat exercise. So let's really quickly do the rock and reach. Let me just set this back up again. Okay. Okay, so rock and reach has me in a half kneeling position, hands on my hip, and I'm turning my hips side to side. So I'm thinking about taking my belt buckle. When my left leg is forward and I turn my belt buckle right, my shin bone tilts forward and my left knee pushes forward. When I turn my belt buckle to the left, it pulls my left hip back, my left knee back, and my shin bone becomes more vertical. Okay, so I'm trying to turn the pelvis and allow the femur bone, the big leg bone, and the shin bone, and the ankle to do its thing. Now, I don't want to be pulling back and lifting. I'm going to keep those hips level, so hands on your hips is helpful. We can take this into split squats. Okay, so as I lower down, left leg forward, my left hip goes back, my belt buckle turns left. Okay, and when I stand up, my belt buckle turns right. Okay, let me show you from the side. So I want to send this hip back, open up, relax, don't tense. Okay. Big misconception is that we need to tense these muscles as we go down, but they need to lengthen so that they can contract. Think about a bicep curl. Bottom of the bicep curl, the muscles lengthen so that I can contract. Same thing has to happen at the hips if that glute is way too tight. Now, honestly, to be honest, whether it's your adductor or your abductor, I'd be looking at that movement first, because this is going to work on your inner thigh and your hips. There's definitely more things that we could do, but I think that based off of not having a lot of information, I would start there. Couple things I'm going to link is I've got 3 episodes where I talk about this stuff. Episode 5, it's all in the hips. Episode 48, sassy hips and energy leaks. And episode 55, I actually talk about should I toe out in my slide. And there's a really helpful video again that dives through different movements at the hip and how to kind of troubleshoot that. So the last piece of this actually that they pointed out was that they didn't have a lot of access to ice. So this person, like, they have off season, but then when they do have access to ice, it's very sporadic. So they do a lot of work off ice, trying to prepare for curling. So one of the things you can actually add in is what I call the dry land snapshot drill. Okay, so designate something a little bit elevated for your hack foot. I do recommend people do this on both sides, and I recognize the videos cut my head off, but this is the last thing, so I'm not going to fix it. Okay, whatever your delivery looks like, or if you're trying to work something out, go right ahead. So snapshot means someone has come to take photos of you, okay, at all the different points in your delivery. So they might be there to take photos of absolutely everything, okay? The setup, the down in the hack, the hip lift, the pullback, the rock and broom move forward, the foot gets under, and then the slide, okay? You might say, oh my God, all of those individual spots, my body is going to fall over. So you might say each week, pick 2 spots that you're going to focus on. Okay, so maybe in week 1, you're going to focus on the down and the pullback. So you're going to do as I said, where you're just focusing on going down. So you're going to go down. Okay, I like my alignment, hips up. I like it, pull back. I like it. Okay, stand up, shake it out, repeat. You do not need to snapshot at every single time. So maybe you're like, you get to the point where you're like, I'm comfortable with being down. I need to snapshot on the pullback and right before I kick. Okay, so you might get in, up, and back. Okay, pause. How are things? Are they lined up? Am I shifting into my hip? Is the weight appropriate? Good. Okay, rock forward foot. Okay, yep, I'm still in line. Okay, and then I kick. Okay, so using the dry land snapshot, using dry land sweeping, great way to maximize your off ice season. So yeah, here we go. This is the off season. Welcome to the off season. Loads of free stuff here for you. Loads of free webinars. Link them all in here. Do check out the virtual fitness workshop series with World Curling Academy, because we've got last year's 2023 level 1 and this year's 2024 level 2. If you're like, I'd love to get one of those, they're $15 US each, or you can bundle price all of level 1 for 40 and bundle price all of level 2 for 40, or go in and pick and choose which presentations you want. You can join live and you get the recording. Okay, all the resources will be sent to you. So if you're like, I love the idea of off-season training, I just don't know what to do, the off-season menu's got absolutely everything. I've listed so many things here. So if you're like, I really can't choose, then check out the off-season menu. But aside from that, if you've got a question, comment, email me, case study. I'd love to help you out. Even if it's at this point, we don't have access to ice. Maybe you want to work on the body. Maybe you want me to analyze your push-ups or your rowing or your dry land sweeping. I promise I'm really nice. A couple of months ago, I analyzed a submission through Instagram, and I hope it was pretty nice and helpful with that person. I want it to be a safe space, but I also see this as a space where, as coaches, we get a chance to see what people's brains are thinking, how we organize things, and share information. So thank you for listening, and I hope this has been helpful, and we'll talk next month.